Every year, there's this debate whether or not it was a good or bad year for film, but as film critic Mark Kermode says, in any given year, there are roughly the same number of good films and bad films, it just depends on what you see. And I think for the most part that's absolutely true. By the end of the year, we also tend to fall into recency bias. We remember what came out in the last few months and forget the films that hit earlier in the year. We forget the surprises, the risks, the quieter releases. We even forget just how much happened, like how Anora went on to win Best Picture in 2025. I've seen just over 50 new releases this year. Some were released in 2024 in the US, but didn't make it to the UK until 2025. And some I've seen at the end of this year at a film festival, but they won't get wide theatrical distribution in the UK until 2026. There were also some films which I wanted to see this year, but they won't be coming out in the UK till 2026, such as No Other Choice, Surat, Resurrection, to just name a few. So this list is my personal ranking of the films I saw this year. You'll notice that pretty much all of these films are original films. 21 of the top 25 highest selling films this year were IP, sequels, superheroes, that kind of thing. I think most of my films in this list being original says all it needs to about the type of films I love and want to see more of. So here are 10 films, plus some honourable mentions, from 2025 that I enjoyed the most. Films that challenged me, moved me, or reminded me why I love cinema in the first place. Sinners is probably in the top 2 most spoken about films of the year. Ryan Coogler's incredible original film, which made such a splash when it was released, both for its incredible visuals and epic scope, and the incredible deal Coogler made with Warner Bros. To get the rights back to the film in 25 years. Coogler is one of the most exciting directors working today. I expected the film to be more scary than it actually was, based on the trailers, but what we actually got was a well-told ode to Southern black culture, ranging from the beautiful blues to the Mississippi magic. A lot of people will have had this higher on their list, but if I'm honest, I think the story itself lacks something. I thoroughly enjoyed it and appreciate the film for both what it did for the industry, being an original film in a sea of sequels, and its incredible IMAX visuals, but I did leave the cinema feeling like I wanted a little more from the story. But that's just a little point, and I'm very excited for whatever Coogler does next. Richard Linklater has been working hard recently, and his second film that he made this year is both a love letter to cinema history and a reminder why filmmaking movements matter. Nouvelle Vague captures the rebellious spirit of the French New Wave, experimentation, youth, art over commerce, but still feeling contemporary. It's playful, referential, and deeply passionate about film as an art form. For anyone who loves cinema about cinema, this one hits hard. This feels like a film which only cinephiles will understand and love, but that's okay with me because I am one. This film made me want to rush home and watch Abu Dussouf all over again. Joachim Trier is one of the best European filmmakers working today, with his Oslo trilogy standing as the pinnacle of his work so far. But his new film, Sentimental Value, stands out once again as a quiet, emotionally precise, and devastating story in many ways. It's about a daughter's fractured relationship with her father, the memory, inheritance, and invisible weight we carry from our parents and pasts. The film never raises its voice, instead it lets silence, glances, and unresolved tension do the work. It's the kind of film that grows in your mind days after watching it. I absolutely love Trier's previous 2021 film, The Worst Person in the World, but similarly to Sinners, with Sentimental Value, I did leave the cinema feeling like I wanted the film to pack a harder emotional punch, but that may have just been me. Sorry Baby is one of the most intimate films of the year, a deeply personal exploration of grief, identity, and self-repair. Debut feature from writer, director, actor Eva Victor, Sorry Baby feels fragile in the best way, capturing the emotional messiness of trying to move forward when life doesn't go as planned. Any film starring Lucas Hedges is good in my book, and Naomi Ackie is quickly becoming one of the best actresses working today. But this one is so cleverly written that it was a clear standout for me. Its honesty is what makes it powerful. It never tries to impress, only to tell the truth. There were a few films that narrowly missed the list, but absolutely deserve recognition. Firstly, K-pop Demon Hunters is a wildly inventive film with genre-bending fun and genuine visual flair. It obviously took the world by storm, but there was definitely a reason for this. It hits the spot in every way, and I still have some of the songs in my head now. Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love is a raw, intense, and emotionally fearless film. I also found it very funny at times, though I know others didn't quite have the same reception to it. One that may have flew under the radar for most, but I actually really enjoyed, was The Last Showgirl. Nostalgic, melancholy, and unexpectedly moving, Pamela Anderson gives one of the best performances of her career. And her being a cinephile might just be the shock of the year. Seriously, go watch her Criterion Closet video. Weapons was an ambitious, unsettling, and structurally bold film from Zach Cregger. Building on its success with Barbarian, it plays with genre, tone, and narrative expectations in a way that keeps you constantly off balance. What could have been a gimmick instead becomes a tense, smart commentary on fear, control, and collective panic. It's one of those films that rewards attention and repeat viewing, and one of the year's most confident swings. I had to have something in here highlighting some of the best of British, and The Ballad of Wallace Island did just that. It's a warm, emotional, and very funny film, with a brilliant script and played to perfection by the likes of Tim Keyes. It's about people searching for meaning at the edges of the world, geographically and emotionally. The film's charm comes from its sincerity. It's gentle without being naive, and whimsical without being shallow. One of my favourite cinema experiences of the year came from I'm Still Here, the Brazilian Oscar winner for Best Foreign Language Film. It's a deeply affecting portrait of resilience, a film about survival, endurance, and quiet defiance. It strips away sentimentality and focuses on the simple act of continuing, even when everything feels lost. Its power comes from restraint, letting moments breathe and emotions land naturally. It's haunting in its simplicity, and the final few minutes of the film definitely had me welling up. It had me reflecting on my own life and family. This was definitely helped by Fernando Torres' absolutely brilliant performance in the lead role. Marty Supreme is absolutely one of the most exciting films of the year, directed by Josh Safdie, starring Timothée Chalamet. And after all the hype, all the promotion, I can honestly say that it delivered completely on its story, on its pacing. It gave you everything that Good Time did, but increased it times 10. It made everyone interested in ping pong, and that's something that not many directors or actors will be able to do. This is all worth the hype. I'll come out and say it now. If I'd have seen this film in the cinema, it might just have been my favourite film of the year. Train Dreams is one of the most poetic films I've ever seen. It's a Malick-esque film that tells a small, deeply personal story against the backdrop of immense historical and environmental change. It's about labour, isolation, and the slow disappearance of a way of life. The film feels timeless, like a memory passed down rather than a story being told, and its emotional weight sneaks up on you. William H. Macy gives maybe the supporting performance of the year as this hilarious old logger who's been about way too long. He speaks way too much, but for the few people who actually listen to him, there's wise words in there amongst the noise. At number 1 is One Battle After Another. There isn't much more that needs to be said about this film. It's a messy, political, emotional, and completely uncompromising film. It demands engagement with its ideas, its characters, and its contradictions. What makes it my film of the year is its ambition. It swings big, risks alienation, and refuses to simplify its worldview. Whether or not connected with audiences, it represents the kind of cinema I want more of. Bold, personal, and unafraid. PTA doing what PTA does best. May there be many more. So, that's my top 10 films of 2025. Not definitive, not objective, just the films that stayed with me. Let me know your list in the comments and what films you think people will forget about way too quickly.